The silver ship appeared in the sky above Washington, D.C. without warning. It hovered silently, its smooth surface reflecting the morning sun. People stopped in the streets to stare up at it. Some ran away in fear, others took pictures with their phones. Jack Morgan was eating breakfast when his phone rang. As a Navy lieutenant, he was used to unexpected calls, but not ones telling him that aliens had arrived on Earth. "Lieutenant Morgan, report to base immediately," his commander ordered. "We need you for a special assignment." 3 hours later, Jack stood in a line with other military personnel and government officials. They were waiting for the aliens to exit their ship. The landing area was surrounded by security, news crews, and curious onlookers kept at a distance by barriers. The ship's doors slid open, and the first aliens stepped onto Earth. They called themselves the Xendari. They were tall and thin with pale blue skin. Their large eyes blinked slowly as they looked around. They had 4 long fingers on each hand and moved with careful, deliberate steps. "They look fragile," whispered a soldier next to Jack. Jack nodded. The Xendari did look delicate, almost like they might break if they fell. Their ambassador, who introduced himself as Elior, spoke perfect English through a small device on his chest. "We have observed your planet for many years," Elior said during the formal meeting. "We believe humans are ready to learn about the wider galaxy. We come in peace and friendship." President Clark welcomed the Xendari and introduced the human delegation. Jack was surprised to hear his name called. "Lieutenant Jack Morgan will serve as military liaison to your security team," the president said. Jack stepped forward and bowed slightly. The Xendari security officials looked at him with curiosity. Later that day, the humans gave their visitors a tour of a specially prepared welcome center. Jack walked beside Elior, answering questions about Earth's military forces. The alien was particularly interested in human training methods. "Your soldiers purposely put themselves through physical hardship?" Elior asked, sounding confused. "Yes, to become stronger and more prepared," Jack explained. "How do Xendari train?" "We use simulations," Elior said. "Our bodies cannot endure what yours apparently can." They entered a large hall where a stage had been set up for formal speeches. Construction workers were still finishing some decorations above the stage. Jack noticed one of the workers struggling with a heavy metal support beam near the ceiling. The beam was slipping. What happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The beam broke free from its restraints. It began to fall directly toward where Elior was standing. Without thinking, Jack pushed the alien ambassador aside and tried to move away himself, but he wasn't fast enough. The metal beam crashed down on Jack's shoulder and back, pinning him to the floor. He heard screams and shouts. The pain was intense. His vision blurred, but he stayed conscious. The Xendari were making high-pitched sounds of distress. Several humans ran to lift the beam off Jack. As they moved it away, he could see Elior's shocked face staring down at him. "You will die," the alien said, his voice trembling. "Why would you do this for me?" Jack managed a small smile despite the pain. "Not planning to die today, sir," he said through gritted teeth. "And I'd do the same for anyone." The medical team arrived quickly. They stabilized Jack and took him to the hospital. The doctors said he had 3 broken ribs, a concussion, and significant bruising, but would recover fully within a few weeks. What Jack didn't know was how his actions had stunned the Xendari delegation. Their medical officers explained to the humans that such an impact would have instantly killed one of their species. They couldn't believe Jack had survived, let alone remained conscious and spoken afterward. That night, Elior sent an urgent message to his home world. "These humans are not like any species we have encountered before. Their bodies can withstand damage that would be fatal to us. But more surprising is this: they use their durability to protect others, even those they barely know. We have much to learn from them." Word spread quickly through the galactic community. Humanity had made quite a first impression. 6 months after first contact with the Xendari, Earth received an invitation to join the Galactic Confederation. The invitation came with an opportunity to send a human delegation to Centauri Prime, the headquarters of the Confederation. Dr. Lily Chen packed her bags with excitement. As a xenobiologist, she had spent her career studying the possibility of alien life. Now she would be one of the first humans to see an alien world. She was chosen for the delegation because of her knowledge of biology and her calm personality. The journey to Centauri Prime took 3 weeks on a Xendari ship. When they arrived, Lily stared out the viewport in wonder. The planet was covered in sprawling cities, with tall, delicate towers that seemed too thin to stand. The gravity here is about 80% of Earth's, explained their Xendari guide, Niven. Our buildings can be lighter. As the human delegation stepped off the ship, they were greeted by representatives from 12 different alien species. Some floated in the air. Others moved on many legs. A few looked almost human except for their colors or extra limbs. Lily noticed that all of them moved carefully around the humans, keeping their distance. She soon understood why. During their first meeting, a representative from the Volare species explained, "Most Confederation members evolved on worlds with less gravity than Earth. Our bodies are more fragile than yours. Your reputation has preceded you," added a small green being called a Pax. The Xendari reports about human durability were concerning to some. "We're not dangerous," said Ambassador Paul Rogers, the leader of the human delegation. "Not intentionally, perhaps," said the Pax. "But a friendly pat on the back from a human could break Volare bones." Over the next few days, Lily observed how differently the aliens' bodies functioned. They tired quickly. Minor bumps that humans would ignore caused them pain. Even Earth's bacteria could be dangerous to them, so the humans had been thoroughly decontaminated before the trip. On the third day, the delegation toured a manufacturing facility where medical supplies were made. Lily was fascinated by the advanced technology. As they walked through the chemical processing section, an alarm suddenly blared. "Containment breach," shouted a worker. A pipe had burst, spraying a fine mist into the air. The alien diplomats began to collapse. Their skin turned dark colors where the mist touched them. The workers fled in panic. Lily didn't hesitate. She pulled her shirt over her mouth and ran into the mist. The chemicals stung her skin, but she ignored the discomfort. She dragged 3 fallen aliens to safety before the automatic systems sealed the room. Medical personnel rushed to treat the exposed aliens. One of them, a Xendari doctor, turned to examine Lily. "You need treatment immediately," he said, reaching for her arm. "I'm okay," Lily said. "Just a little skin irritation. Help them first." The doctor scanned her with a handheld device and stepped back in surprise. "You walked through concentrated alveum solution," he said. "It should have caused severe tissue damage." Lily looked at her reddened arms, which were already feeling better. "It just feels like a mild sunburn." News of the incident spread quickly through Centauri Prime. Lily became known as the human who walks through poison. That evening, the human delegation was invited to an emergency meeting of the Confederation Council. The council chamber was grand, with seats for hundreds of representatives positioned in rising circles. The council leader, a tall being with silver skin, addressed them. "Today's incident has made something clear. Humans are not just physically resilient. They willingly risk themselves for others. This combination is unusual in our experience." Ambassador Rogers nodded. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'With great power comes great responsibility.'" The council leader conferred with others before turning back to the humans. "We have decided to fast-track Earth's membership in the Confederation. Some members fear your physical capabilities, but we believe your protective instincts balance this concern." After the meeting, Lily overheard 2 Volare diplomats talking quietly. "Are they really as kind as they seem?" one asked. "Time will tell," the other replied. "But imagine having such powerful allies who actually want to protect instead of dominate. It changes everything." The U.S. horizon floated in deep space near the gas giant Taurus 7. The massive planet swirled with purple and orange clouds that hid terrible storms beneath. Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez stood on the bridge, watching the troubled expressions of Captain Laura Bell and the alien visitor who had come with an urgent request. "The mining vessel went down 3 hours ago," explained the alien, a Verilon named Kex. His thin body trembled with worry. 42 of my people are trapped inside the upper atmosphere. Our rescue ships cannot withstand those conditions." Captain Bell nodded grimly. "The pressure and radiation would crush your vessels." "But not ours," Sam said, stepping forward. "The horizon was built for extreme conditions." The captain turned to Sam. "Can we reach them?" Sam studied the data on his tablet. "Yes, but it won't be easy. The ship can handle it, but we'll need a team to go out in suits to secure the miners for transport. Those conditions will be hard even for humans." "Impossible," Kex said. "No living being could survive direct exposure to Taurus 7's atmosphere, even in protection suits." "We can," Sam said simply. "I'll lead the rescue team myself." 2 hours later, Sam and 5 other crew members prepared in the airlock. Their special suits were thick and heavy, designed for the worst environments humans had ever faced. The team checked each other's equipment carefully. "Remember," Sam told them, "the Verilons are much more fragile than us. Treat them like they're made of glass." The rescue team boarded a shuttle and launched toward the stricken mining vessel. As they descended into the upper atmosphere of Taurus 7, the shuttle began to shake violently. "Radiation levels rising," reported Kyle, the shuttle pilot. "Pressure increasing faster than expected." Sam felt the weight of the atmosphere pressing against his chest even through his suit. The instruments showed conditions that would kill most Confederation species instantly. The humans felt pain and discomfort, but they could survive. They reached the mining vessel and found it partially crushed by pressure. Sam's team attached cables to secure it to their shuttle. "Now for the hard part," Sam said. "We need to go inside and get those miners." The team cut through the damaged airlock. Inside, they found the Verilons huddled in the central chamber. The aliens looked like tall, thin insects with 4 arms and large eyes. Many were injured. All were terrified. "We're from Earth," Sam said through his suit's speakers. "We're here to rescue you." The Verilons stared at the humans in disbelief. One of them, clearly injured, suddenly lunged at Sam in panic. Sharp claws scratched the surface of Sam's suit. Sam gently caught the Verilon's arms. Despite his own exhaustion and the danger of a suit breach, he spoke calmly. "You're safe now. We won't hurt you." The rescue took hours. Each Verilon had to be carefully moved into special protective pods. The humans worked without breaks, fighting against the increasing pressure and radiation. Several times, warning alarms beeped inside their suits as they reached safety limits. After 36 hours of continuous work, all 42 miners were safe aboard the Horizon. The humans finally removed their suits, revealing blistered skin and bloodshot eyes. They were exhausted but alive. In the medical bay, the Verilon leader approached Sam. "You worked for 36 hours straight in conditions that would kill my kind in seconds." Sam shrugged. "We do what's needed." "But why?" the Verilon asked. "We are not your people. You had no obligation to risk yourselves." Sam thought for a moment. "Where I come from, if you can help, you do. It's that simple." The Verilon placed 2 of his forehands on Sam's shoulders in a gesture of deep respect. "The Confederation has encountered many species stronger than us, but few use their strength to protect rather than dominate." Word of the rescue spread quickly through the Confederation. The story was told and retold. Humans walked into an environment that would kill most species, worked until they nearly collapsed, and did it all to save strangers. The Verilons added their own observation to these stories. "The truly remarkable thing about humans isn't just that they can survive what would kill us. It's that they're willing to suffer to prevent our suffering." Officer Nicole Wright adjusted her uniform as she walked through the halls of the Draxis Diplomatic Center. After 6 months on this strange world, she still wasn't used to the hot, dry air or the harsh red light from the planet's twin suns. As Earth's security liaison to the Comeri, she had an important job, but it wasn't easy. The Comeri were tall, muscular aliens with tough, leathery skin and sharp teeth. They were a warrior race who respected strength above all else. When humans first joined the Confederation, the Comeri had immediately sought an alliance. They believed they had found kindred spirits, another species that could survive harsh conditions and physical damage. Nickel turned a corner and heard a commotion. A large Comeri officer named Draz was shouting at a small alien servant. The servant was a Mickey, a gentle species with soft blue fur and large eyes. This one trembled as Draz raised a clawed hand. "You dropped my equipment, weakling." Draz growled. "Such carelessness deserves punishment." Without thinking, Nickel stepped between them. "That's enough, Officer Draz." Draz looked surprised, then laughed. "Officer Wright, come, join me in teaching this soft creature a lesson. It's good for them to learn their place." Nickel stood her ground. "No, there will be no punishment for an accident." The Comeri's yellow eyes narrowed. "You defend this weakling. Why? Humans are strong like Comeri. We should stand together above the lesser species. Strength isn't for hurting those with less of it," Nickel said firmly. "Where I come from, the strong protect the weak." Draz looked genuinely confused. "Protect? Why? What value do the weak have?" Nickel helped the Mickey gather the dropped items. "Everyone has value. Strength without kindness is just bullying." Other Comeri had gathered to watch the confrontation. Nickel knew this moment mattered. The Comeri respected strength, but they also respected those who stood by their principles. "The Mickey may not be physically strong," Nickel continued, "but they're skilled healers and artists. They contribute to society in ways that don't require muscle." Draz snorted. "Useless talents." "Really?" Nickel raised an eyebrow. "When you were injured in the training accident last month, who treated your wounds?" "A Mickey doctor, right?" Draz fell silent, remembering. "And the ceremonial armor you're so proud of?" "Made by Mickey craftspeople," Nickel added. Later that day, Nickel was called to meet with Vex, the Comeri High Commander. She entered his office nervously. The walls were decorated with weapons and battle trophies. "Officer Wright," Vex said, "I heard about your intervention with Officer Draz." Nickel stood at attention. "Sir, I apologize if I overstepped." Vex waved a clawed hand. "I am curious. Our reports on humans noted your physical resilience. We assumed this meant you were conquerors, like us. Yet you protect weaker species instead of ruling them." "Humans haven't always been kind," Nickel admitted. "We've had our share of conquerors and tyrants, but we learned that true strength includes responsibility toward others." "Explain this concept," Vex demanded. Nickel thought for a moment. "If I'm stronger than someone, I have a choice. I can use that strength to hurt them, or I can use it to protect them. The first choice is easy but ultimately empty. The second is harder but more meaningful." Vex leaned back in his chair. "Interesting. Very different from Comeri thinking." The next day, Nickel noticed something unusual. A group of young Comeri officers were watching a Mickey artist create a delicate glass sculpture. They weren't mocking the Mickey, but asking questions about his technique. A week later, she spotted Draz helping a Mickey carry a heavy container. When he saw Nickel watching, he looked embarrassed, but nodded to her. Word spread through Draxis about the strange human ideas. Some Comeri dismissed them as weakness, but others were intrigued. A new political faction formed, calling themselves the Protectors. They believed the Comeri could be both strong and kind. The Comeri High Council was divided over these new ideas. Some members feared change. Others saw potential benefits in Nickel's philosophy. Either way, human influence had sparked debate in a culture that hadn't questioned its values in centuries. The emergency call reached Earth on a quiet Tuesday morning. The agricultural world of Nibis was facing a crisis. A deadly disease was spreading rapidly among its people. Already, thousands had died, and many more were sick. The Confederation medical teams were overwhelmed. Dr. Henry Ross read the report with a frown. He was the head of Earth's Interspecies Medical Response Team. His team had been created specifically to handle health emergencies involving alien species. "What do we know about this disease?" Henry asked his assistant. "It's called nebula fever," she replied. "It attacks the respiratory systems of most Confederation species. The death rate is nearly 60%. And humans. That's the interesting part," she said. "Early tests show humans are immune. We can carry the bacteria, but it doesn't make us sick." Henry stood up. "Prepare the team for immediate departure. If we can't get sick, we're the perfect people to help." 3 days later, Henry and 30 human doctors and nurses arrived on Nevis. The planet was beautiful, with fields of purple grain stretching to the horizon. But the cities were quiet, many homes marked with yellow signs to show sick people inside. The local officials met the humans at the spaceport. They kept their distance and wore protective suits. "You understand the risk?" asked the Nebian health minister. "Our people are dying. No other Confederation species has volunteered to help. They fear infection." "We understand," Henry said. "We can carry the bacteria without getting sick. We'll be careful not to spread it, but we can work safely with your sick." The Nevians were skeptical but desperate. They led the humans to the main hospital, which was overflowing with patients. Doctors and nurses moved slowly in heavy protective gear, quickly becoming exhausted. Henry and his team set up a testing lab first. They confirmed that humans were indeed immune to the disease. They could touch infected patients, breathe the same air, and even carry the bacteria on their skin without becoming ill. "This means we can work without the protective suits," Henry told his team. "We'll be more efficient and can work longer hours." The human medical team divided into groups. Some went to rural areas where no medical help had reached. Others worked in the overcrowded hospitals. They set up new treatment centers and delivered medicine to quarantine zones. Because they didn't need protective gear, they could work faster and longer than the Nebian medical staff. After 2 weeks of non-stop work, Henry noticed a small Nebian child following him around the hospital. The child had lost both parents to the disease and had no other family. Henry gave the child small tasks to help and shared his meals with her. "What's your name?" he asked one day. "Linny," she answered shyly. As the weeks passed, the outbreak began to slow. The human medical team had developed better treatments, and fewer people were dying. But there were many orphan children like Linny. The Nebian social services were struggling to care for them all. Henry spent more time with Linny. He taught her simple Earth games and told her stories about his home planet. She followed him everywhere, helping however she could. One night, a Nebian official approached Henry. "Doctor, you've done so much for our world, but there's a rule in the Confederation against interfering with the development of other species. Taking one of our children would break that rule." Henry looked surprised. "I didn't say anything about taking Linny." The official smiled. "You didn't have to. We've seen how you care for her." Henry watched Linny sleeping peacefully across the room. "She has no one else," he said quietly. "I know," the official replied. "That's why I've already started the paperwork for an exception to the rule. It would be the first cross-species adoption in Confederation history." The news of Dr. Henry Ross's adoption request spread quickly through the Confederation. Some officials argued it was inappropriate. Others saw it as the next logical step in human integration with the galactic community. What no one could deny was the effect the human medical team had on Nevis. When most species had stayed away out of fear, humans had come running toward the danger. They had worked until they were exhausted, saving thousands of lives. Admiral Grace Peters stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defender, watching the stars through the main viewport. Reports from the front lines were not good. The Tarvus Empire had attacked 3 Confederation border worlds in the past month. Their ships were faster, and their weapons were stronger than anything the Confederation had seen before. "Admiral," Incoming transmission from Confederation Command, called out the communications officer. A hologram appeared showing Auxiliary General Admiral Peters. The situation is worse than we feared. The Tarvos have broken through our defenses at Sector 7. They're heading toward the Peloran system. Grace frowned. The Pelorans are a peaceful species. They have no defenses. Exactly, said the general. We need your fleet to intercept the Tarvos before they reach Pelora. You're our only hope. Grace turned to her tactical officer. How long until we can reach Sector 7? 8 hours at maximum speed, Admiral. Grace nodded. Set course immediately, and contact all human ships in the area. We'll need everyone. The Defender and 5 other human ships raced toward the conflict. Grace studied everything known about the Tarvos. They were a new species to the Confederation, having only been discovered 2 years ago. They were physically similar to humans in their durability and strength. But unlike humans, they believed that strength gave them the right to take whatever they wanted. When the human fleet arrived at Pelora, they found 3 Tarvos warships already in orbit. The beautiful blue planet below had no weapons to defend itself. The Pelorans were small, gentle beings who had never fought a war. Open a channel to the Tarvos flagship, Grace ordered. A harsh face appeared on the screen. The Tarvos commander looked surprisingly human-like, except for his gray skin and yellow eyes. This is Admiral Grace Peters of Earth. The planet Pelora is under Confederation protection. Withdraw your forces immediately. The Tarvos commander laughed. 6 ships against our 3. You are brave but foolish. Our ships are superior to yours. And we know that humans are the only Confederation species that can match us in physical strength. The others are too weak to fight us. We don't need to match you, Grace replied calmly. We just need to stop you. The battle began suddenly. The Tarvos ships were indeed powerful, their weapons tearing through the human ships' outer defenses. But Grace had a plan. All ships, execute Strategy Omega, she commanded. The human vessels moved into position around the Peloran planet, forming a protective barrier. When the Tarvos fired on the planet, the human ships took the hits instead. Admiral, our shields are failing, reported her tactical officer. Hull damage on decks 5 through 8. Hold position, Grace ordered. We can take more damage than the Pelorans can. The battle raged for hours. The human ships were badly damaged, but refused to move from their protective positions. Many crew members were injured, but they stayed at their posts. Eventually, Confederation reinforcements arrived, surrounding the Tarvos fleet. The Tarvos commander called for a ceasefire. I don't understand, he said to Grace during the negotiations. Your ships were clearly losing. Why didn't you retreat and save yourselves? Because our job wasn't to win, Grace explained. It was to protect. If we had moved, the Pelorans would have died. The Tarvos commander shook his head. But they are not your people. They are weak. In our culture, the weak exist to serve the strong. In our culture, Grace replied, the strong exist to protect those who cannot protect themselves. After the battle, Grace visited the Tarvos commander in the detention center. He had been captured when his ship was disabled. I've been thinking about what you said, the commander admitted, about the strong protecting the weak. It seems inefficient. Grace smiled. It might seem that way at first, but protection creates loyalty and cooperation. The Pelorans may not be physically strong, but they're brilliant scientists. They've already offered to help repair our ships with technology we don't have. The commander was silent for a moment. In the Tarvos Empire, we're taught that showing mercy is weakness. Yet your people willingly took damage meant for others, and somehow you seem stronger for it. Word of the human defense of Pelora spread quickly. The image of human ships forming a living shield around the planet became famous throughout the Confederation. It changed how many species viewed humanity. They were not just physically tough. They were willing to suffer to prevent others from suffering. 2 years after Earth joined the Galactic Confederation, humans and aliens began to learn more about each other. Cultural exchange programs were created to help different species understand one another better. Frank Johnson, an artist from Seattle, was chosen to create a special exhibit about humanity. Frank had never left Earth before. He stared out the window of the transport ship, watching the stars streak by. He felt nervous about his task. How could he show aliens what it meant to be human? "We need to change how they see us," the cultural director had told him. "Many species still fear humans because of our physical strength. They don't understand that we feel pain and fear just like they do." Frank's exhibit opened on Centauri Prime, the main hub of the Confederation. The large hall was filled with curious aliens from dozens of worlds. They moved slowly through the interactive displays Frank had created. The first section showed the human body. Frank had created clear models showing how humans could be hurt, how they felt pain, and how they healed. One display allowed aliens to feel the sensation of a human heartbeat. Another demonstrated how adrenaline worked during times of stress. "They believe we're indestructible," Frank explained to a group of Volari visitors. "But we're not. We bleed. We break. We die. We're just built a bit tougher than most." The next section of the exhibit focused on human emotions. Frank had collected stories from people all over Earth. Visitors could put on special headsets and experience human memories. A firefighter running into a burning building despite her fear, a doctor working through exhaustion to save lives, a soldier jumping on a grenade to save his friends. A small Mickey child looked up at Frank after experiencing one memory. The human was scared but still helped others. "Why?" Frank smiled. "Because being brave doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you act despite being afraid." The final section of the exhibit was called Everyday Heroes. It showed ordinary humans helping others. Volunteers cleaning up after natural disasters, people donating blood, communities coming together to rebuild homes, strangers stopping to help at accident scenes. An elderly Xendari approached Frank. "I have studied your species for many years, but I never understood until today. Your physical resilience is not what makes humans special. It is your choice to use that resilience to help others." Frank's exhibit traveled to 12 different worlds over the next year. Millions of aliens experienced it. Meanwhile, back on Earth, humans were learning about alien cultures too. New foods, music, art, and ideas from across the galaxy flowed into human society. On a small college campus in Boston, students created a club dedicated to Volari poetry. In Tokyo, architects designed buildings inspired by Xendari crystal structures. Schools began teaching alien languages alongside human ones. A restaurant in Paris became famous for serving dishes from 7 different planets. The chef, Olivia King, had spent months learning how to prepare foods that were safe for both humans and various alien species to eat. "Food brings people together," Olivia told a reporter. "Even when those people have completely different biology." Not everyone welcomed these changes. Some humans worried about losing their culture. Some aliens feared human influence would be too strong. But most saw the benefits of sharing ideas and traditions. A new philosophical movement began to grow, combining human compassion with alien perspectives on the universe. They called themselves the Connected, and they believed that different species could learn from each other's strengths. Frank Johnson returned to Earth after his exhibit tour ended. He brought with him ideas and techniques he had learned from alien artists. His next project was a massive sculpture in New York's Central Park, created with the help of artists from 5 different worlds. The sculpture showed figures of different species standing together, supporting each other. At night, it glowed with soft light and patterns that told a story all species could understand. We are stronger together than apart. 10 years after first contact, delegates from every Confederation species gathered on Earth for a special summit. The Grand Meeting Hall in Geneva was filled with beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some floated in the air, others moved on many legs. A few needed special environments to breathe. Professor Kate Miller stood at the podium, looking out at the diverse audience. As a renowned expert on human evolution, She had been asked to give the opening speech for the Summit on Human Integration into the Galactic Community. When our ancestors evolved on the plains of Africa, Kate began, they faced many dangers. They weren't the strongest or fastest creatures. They didn't have natural weapons like claws or fangs. What they had was endurance, problem-solving skills, and each other. The alien delegates listened carefully. Many had wondered how humans had developed their unusual combination of physical resilience and social cooperation. Humans could keep walking when other animals needed to rest, Kate continued. They could survive injuries that would kill other creatures. But more importantly, they learned that working together made them stronger than any individual could be alone. Kate showed images of early human communities. Our bodies evolved to be tough, but our minds evolved to be kind. Both traits helped us survive. A human who could endure hardship could bring food back to the group. A human who cared for others ensured the survival of the whole community. In the audience, Jack Morgan listened with interest. The former Navy lieutenant who had saved the Xendari ambassador during first contact was now a diplomat himself. His shoulder still sometimes ached where the beam had fallen on him 10 years ago. Beside Jack sat that same Xendari ambassador, Elir, now one of his closest friends. They had worked together for years to improve relations between their species. After Kate's speech, representatives from 12 species shared how their interactions with humans had changed their societies. The Komari described new educational programs that taught young warriors the value of protection rather than dominance. The Verilans spoke about rescue techniques they had learned from humans. The Pelorans shared medical advances developed after the human defense of their world. When it was Jack's turn to speak, he kept his words simple. 10 years ago, I acted without thinking to save Ambassador Elir. It was instinct, the kind of instinct most humans have. We protect. We help. Not because we're special, but because we can. Elir stepped forward next. What humans call instinct, many of us had to learn. The concept that strength creates obligation rather than privilege has changed how many Confederation species view themselves and others. The final day of the summit was marked by a historic announcement. The Confederation had drafted a new charter, one that established that the strength of any member species created an obligation to protect and support the whole community. After the summit ended, Jack and Elir walked together in a garden outside the meeting hall. They stopped before a new monument being unveiled that day. It showed figures of different species helping each other climb a steep mountain. "Do you think it will work?" Jack asked. "This new charter?" Elir's large eyes blinked slowly. "It already is working. Look around you." Jack did look. He saw a Komari warrior carefully helping a small Mickey child feed birds in the garden. A group of Verilans were deep in conversation with human engineers about a new space station design. A human doctor and a Nibian healer were comparing notes on treating patients with different biologies. 10 years ago, Elir said, "Many species feared humans because of your physical resilience. They thought you would use your strength to dominate, as others had before. But we didn't," Jack said simply. "No, you showed kindness alongside strength. You taught the Confederation something important. That true power isn't just about what you can endure, but what you're willing to endure for others." As the sun set over the garden, delegates from 100 worlds gathered around the new monument. The inscription at its base was written in every Confederation language, but the message was the same in all of them. Our differences make us unique. Our compassion makes us strong.